An inexplicable cold chill entered. Somehow it was inexplicable but very memorable. From WBEZ in Chicago, this is Right Better Together. I am John Myers. In our first half, hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, John Myers. What are we doing?
Someone was impressed by our energy whenever we start, so I was toning it down.
Why would you tone it down if they were impressed by it?
like we were Muppets.
You were a Muppet on that one episode.
We became too predictable.
I think it was Renee's.
So I was toning it down.
It was kind of spooky.
Brought to you by the foundation of the Drip Confections Endowment. This is Right Better Together. What are we talking about today, Emily?
We could start talking like those Instagram videos where they're just like, and then I went to the store, and then I was thinking about how I just really wanted some macaroni and cheese, and so I bought some milk, and I got my Velveeta, and it was on sale today. How was that? Was that a good impression?
That was wonderful. That was fantastic. That's exactly what I was going for.
Well, today we are going to be talking about confidence versus self-esteem.
One of my favorite moments is when I said I went to the mailbox on the thing with Jack Handy. I went to the mailbox and you're like, that's not a story.
That's because you had explicitly said in a previous episode that going to your mailbox isn't a story.
I know. I love it. All right. Yep. That's our topic. What else is happening today?
Well, before that, we are going to have listener responses.
Oh.
We're going to give you a new call to action.
Oh.
We're going to have Hey John Myers, where I teach John Myers something. And then we're going to have the final act, where we play a silly game.
That sounds like quite the list.
Oh yeah, it is quite the list.
Amazing.
Ding! But first, how did you get out of your bubble?
I do have a story. This is where you go, that's not a story. I do have a story, but William Martell has a better story, but I will set up William Martell's story with my story. So, as I've mentioned, I carry a bag of food around for the homeless people that are on the corners. People complain online that the homeless people aren't appreciative enough of their stuff when they give them something. I see this online complaint a lot. And as we established in a previous episode, I regularly give them a bag of food. And I hate to say them and like it's us and them. I hate the other people. But I regularly give homeless people on the corner a bag of food. That's just what we take for granted. So now I'm othering again, we and us. I've never had an unappreciative person ever. And it's not that exciting. Like sometimes I'll make fresh sandwiches because if I know I'm like the bag's getting full, so I know I have to get rid of the bag, I'll make some fresh sandwiches or whatever. And then, or I'll put, like in the episode where Emily didn't win 5 RB sandwiches, I'm sure a homeless dude got some of those. And like made me think that has nothing to do with the homeless community. It has to do with the person that's online complaining they weren't appreciated. And
yeah,
and they probably feel unappreciated at the grocery store, and they probably feel unappreciated at wherever they go in their family or by their parents. And so then, like at first, I was outraged that they that they were painting all homeless people with this unappreciative brush, and which it wasn't true. But then I felt compassion for the complainers because something made them that way. And so then I had a moment where I shifted in the middle of the thing. And it's like people that get burned by a church and then so they don't go back because the church is full of hypocrites. Well, Kroger's full of hypocrites and you still go there. Like it's not like there's something that happened, and I don't know. I just wish I could fix it for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and tell your out of the bubble story, and then I'll get back to Williams. We'll cap it with Williams.
So I got out of my bubble, but more importantly, Winnie got out of her bubble.
Oh, Winnie, David Corbley, Patreon investor. Look who's here.
Her eyes look so creepy.
Creepy.
Winnie got
Don't
a
listen
haircut.
to her. Don't
Winnie
listen to
got a
her. You're not
haircut, and
creepy,
like
Jen.
me, Winnie has anxiety. So she always has anxiety when she goes to the groomer. But then the groomer always tells me that 5 minutes in, Winnie is perfectly fine. So she gets better every time. She gets braver and stronger.
Can I see a close up of her coat or her sweater? Is it weighted or is it knit? I can't tell.
Is it what?
Weighted? Weighted?
Weighted.
Yeah, like a weighted blanket.
No, it's a so remember my fisherman's wool sweaters?
Yes.
Well, Winnie has a fisherman's wool sweater too.
Winnie flew to Ireland and bought her own sweater.
Yeah. But we have not turned on the heater yet, but today it's in the 40s, and so Winnie is bundled up under a blanket with her sweater, taking a nap during the podcast.
Keeping you warm, doing her job, as you
She is
say.
keeping me warm, which is nice because I am cold.
Doing her job, as you say.
But this dog has impressed me because we got her, let's see, 2021, I think. And she was 6 years old and was just the most anxious, shy dog. And she now is so happy. She's more comfortable around people. So we are proud of our little Winnie.
Winnie has become a social butterfly now.
Yes.
Does she go up to people in the park?
She honestly could not care less about other people
Oh,
or other dogs.
she's in her own
She
cocoon.
she this is terrible. The only dog she has ever attempted to play with was another Shih Tzu.
Oh,
So I think she's a bit prejudiced.
I think so. We started by complimenting her, and now we've taken away. We've outed her. Speaking of cocoon, getting out of
Yes.
one's cocoon, William Martell, screenwriter extraordinaire. He's got a series of 19 blue books and other books too. He's a novelist. Here's a picture of him. He's been doing this forever. He knows his stuff. So he bicycles all over LA all the time. I'm gonna read his story now, and I will insert awkward pauses so that you can go, "Oh yeah," so you can respond if you feel like. The great thing about cycling is that there's no cocoon. We just said cocoon. You aren't in your car insulated from the world. You are out on the street and interacting with the world. I know I've mentioned the homeless guy who hangs out in front of an upscale bar that I cycle past a couple of times a week, and we say hello to each other, and sometimes I stop to talk to him, see how he's doing. And probably mentioned a couple times when stopped at a corner waiting for the light and had conversations with homeless people who recognize me as that polite guy who always says excuse me when I pass them. Actually, I say pardon me because it translates easier. And dogs who bark at me when I pass the houses, they're just protecting their owners, and so I always say good dog when they bark at me. You notice people and things when you are out of the cocoon. When you're out of your
Yeah.
bubble, you notice things. When I was stopped for a light next to a gas station a few days ago, I noticed a wood structure on the side near the back that I had never noticed before. Under the power lines, next to a power pole, with an old metal caution high voltage warning sign on the front of the box. Not unusual for me to notice something for the first time, even if I have cycled past it dozens of times. But this structure, painted gray, seemed too large, 6 feet long, 4 feet high, 3 feet deep. And usually those things are metal boxes, right? Right, Emma?
Yeah.
The light changed. I rode to the coffee shop, struggled to get some pages written, then rode home, and was stopped at the same light, but on the other side of the street, and diagonally across the street at the closed gas station, light was coming from inside that wood structure. An electrical fire? Do I need to call the fire department? It's a gas station. I've seen the birds. I know what could happen. So I ride over to the gas station to check it out. Phone ready in case I need to call 911. The lid on the wooden structure is open, and inside is a bed, and a table, and a battery operated light, and a shelf with food, and a homeless guy laying there on the bed reading a book. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure everything was okay, I told him. Fine, the homeless guy answered. I continued riding home, thinking about the ingenuity of building a fake electrical box slash apartment that the people who work in the gas station never even notice, and they walk by it every day when they go to work.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
He's written so many books, and that 3 paragraphs is a life-changing observation
That's
from
very
getting
neat.
from getting out of his bubble. And there's so many levels to
Paying
it.
attention. There are, yeah. I mean, that's a whole like I guess in memoir you would call that a brevity. It's like a really just short mini memoir piece with so many thought-provoking elements in it.
Power of noticing, people that walk by it every day that don't notice, just
Yeah.
kindness and politeness to the homeless people.
Yeah.
And he's a concerned citizen. How many people saw that same glowing box and go, "Oh,
Right.
that's a
Paying
wood box,
attention.
not a metal box. I better call 911."
Yeah. Yeah.
Or are too busy to stop and peek inside it.
Yeah. Since we're talking about homelessness, one of my favorite essays to have my students read is On Dumpster Diving by Lars Einer. Highly recommend. It's not just about dumpster diving, it is about consumption, which we talk about a lot on this podcast.
Yes.
Overconsumption and sentimentality and all kinds of things. So it's great. And you can find it online for free.
Awesome. Thank you, William Martell, for letting us
Yeah, thanks for sharing
share that
that.
story.
Love that.
I just realized by starting the episode so low key, not to call out any other podcast, but that like it's changed the tone of this one. Right,
Oh,
right? Because
it
I read that,
has.
and we're having these pauses now, and
Yeah.
it's fascinating to
It's
me.
a mood.
It is a mood. I don't know. It's not the Muppet Show anymore.
I'm also tired today. I mean, I'm usually tired, but especially today.
And Winnie's tired.
Winnie is napping in my lap, which never helps my tiredness.
What next?
Well, we have listener response. So every Monday, if you're not on Facebook with us, every Monday we do Self Promo Monday where we shamelessly promote stuff. And we had a new listener. Well, I don't know how long he's been listening, but this was his response, and I lost it. So let me pull it back
I'd
up again.
say, I don't know. I talked to him a while ago, and he listened.
Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, he hasn't listened from the beginning. I got a message from someone who just started listening. They started with the Renee episode, right? And they're listening in order. And I don't know how I feel about that. And I'm like, and she's like, I really enjoyed episode 0. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we were so young back then. We didn't even have microphones.
That's so funny. But you know what? I've heard on writing excuses, well, not on writing excuses, but I've heard like Dan Wells say, like, I hope nobody goes back and listens to the old archives, but those are my favorite episodes. I
Oh,
love going back and listening to their early episodes.
of them or of
Yeah,
ours or of anything?
of them. Like that their original episodes from like 2008 or something are like my favorite. Okay. So, this is from Liam Kavanagh and
He sounds like he's from Wexford, Ireland.
very accurate. He says, I'm interning at Serious Point Games,
Oh.
getting to grips with video game narrative, and I'm learning the key to success is concentration, which happens to line up nicely with your call to action from episode 10 to share your unconventional advice. So,
That was Pinar, right? I think.
yes. Yeah, I think
Pinar
it was.
Tarhan.
So he has shared a video, so I'm going to pull that up real quick.
I feel like I should be making NPR noises. Bonk, bonk, bonk.
Oh, there is a problem.
There's always a problem. She learned. Why can't I do this without laughing? She learned that there would be a problem, but little did she know. I said, little did she know. My gosh, we're in the multiverse.
Is it still like that?
Nope. Now there's a black screen.
This is very annoying to me.
She's seldom annoyed, and yet today was an exception.
Okay, so this is Video Game Narrative, A Day in the Life by Liam Kavanagh. And listeners, there are no words in this video, but there's text. And so I'm going to read the text that he has written, And what you're going to see is him trying to write something.
Just pull over in your car, pull off to the side of the road safely, and watch it on the YouTube. Here we go.
Or on the Spotify.
Or on the Spotify.
All right.
There's a
I like
man
to make
sitting
a
on the
good
couch typing.
start. Yeah. I like to make a good start. And now for the words to flow.
He looks like he's concentrating.
Oh, still blank. This doesn't
Aw.
count. He looks frustrated. For the best results, I try not to get distractor.
Distractor, get it?
Why are there no words yet? But 2 hedgehogs. If I'm struggling, I have to apply myself. And now he's just looking out the window, trying to write, looking out the window, trying to write. Sleeping.
Sleeping like Winnie.
Having murder dreams, it says.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's me. That's the most relatable thing, is me just falling asleep when I'm trying to write.
And having murder dreams?
Not murder dreams. And once I've confirmed that dreams aren't real, I get cracking. Today's assignment: ways to murder Mr. Bordeaux. And then
there
he
are
has a
many
huge
ways.
list. I'm sure this isn't an indication of anything. Zooms in on electrocution. The end.
There was a
This
little
was meant to be a shark.
Yeah, there was a little comment at the bottom where it said killed by a shark, and there was a hedgehog next to it.
He said this is supposed to be a shark. So he does eventually get some things written down, but it takes some time for him to not to get distracted and to wake up, and this is very relatable to me.
Yeah, and it shows writers doing a lot of research too. There was more research than there was writing.
Yes, and I have definitely, when I was first starting off my your camera just changed.
I saw that, but it's the right one.
Yeah, that was weird. When I was starting my nature survival fantasy novel, I did a lot of research on how to make boom boom things. And my Google searches were very interesting. So thankfully, I did not get arrested.
I have no idea what you just said.
That's how they say it on Instagram when they don't want to say words that are going to trigger stuff. They just use other words. So boom boom devices.
Got it. Now I understood. Yeah, I know about that. So, all right, cool. Thanks, Liam.
Thank you.
I didn't know they had tractors in Ireland.
Of course.
I just thought they had sheep and sweaters. Like, what do you need a tractor for sheep for? For whatever you feed the sheep, I guess.
I don't think everybody has a sheep.
I'm impressed that he has tractors outside his window. What next?
Oh, man.
It's time for our interview. It's time for our interview with.
Yeah, with ourselves.
I hope they have more energy than that NPR guy that was on at the beginning. Today, Emily, we're going to be talking about confidence versus. I don't want to say versus. Confidence and I didn't want to include them and either. Confidence, little colon. Confidence is to esteem as esteem is to confidence. There you go. And
wow, that is very confusing.
Isn't it though? They're not the same. My point is they're not the same.
Yes.
And people use them interchangeably when they shouldn't. I think that we should talk about it. I think that 5/8 of our book talks about confidence.
Yeah, 5/8 of my blog is about confidence.
Oh, it is very true. So do you want to start like by defining what they are?
Yes, please, because you chose this topic / title, and I want to know how you are defining these, because I have lots of things to say on confidence and self-esteem, but I want to make sure I understand the definitions that we are and how you are saying that they are different and distinct.
I have 3 points that I want to cover, and really point number 2 is kind of mushy, and it's it's really a discussion of these of the definition, but I will define it up front. So up front, confidence to me, and the dictionary definition is the trust that you put in something, the awareness and the trust that you put in something. So it's contingent on trust. Esteem, well, when we talk more in detail about it, there's self-esteem and there's just regular esteem, and is puts a layer of value on it. So it's whether or not I want to use the word judge. When we use the word judge, for lack of a better word, you're judging the level of confidence that you have in something.
There's a pride element to it. Is that accurate?
Can be. When we get to that section, though, there's um, four kinds of esteem. Well, let's just talk about them. There's low self-esteem, there's high self-esteem, there's worthiness esteem, and then there's competence esteem. And so those are the official four types. And so I guess we have to have those out there to have this discussion. Anything you want to say before I tell the point one?
Well, I think you should define those.
Oh, you do you? Okay, you stumped me. So the titles don't define them. I'm not saying they don't.
Well, so if you have like, can you have high worthiness esteem or like low competence esteem, or is it just that either you have high self esteem or you have a different kind of esteem?
So if it's valued, can you have low or high worthiness?
Is it valued? So is it like low self esteem, high self esteem, worthiness esteem, and then competence esteem? Like does it go up an arc?
No, it's more like a four square. It's like a four square where it's like four
Okay.
circles of a Venn diagram that don't overlap. Here, I can answer it this way. Low self-esteem and high self-esteem are self measuring yourself, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Competence esteem is it's a self-awareness, it's a self Dr. Nick's going to come on and go, what the heck are you slaughtering this topic for? It's a it's an awareness of your competence, and then worthiness esteem is even though you've deemed yourself competent, whether you're not you're worthy of, like, was it a gift and I didn't earn it, or did I work really hard to earn that competence? And that figures in to your self-esteem. Yeah, I'm really good at I'm really good at drawing, right? At my cartoons that I do. Okay, like I'm not impressed by that because it just comes out of my hand that way. Like I can't draw a motorcycle so it looks like a picture of a motorcycle where other people can do that. I can draw a cartoon motorcycle. Came out of me that way when I was 5 years old, and it's
Mm.
gotten better over the years. But I don't like great, but it's a God given talent. I didn't earn it or anything.
Interesting.
Yeah, it just comes out of me that way. And there's singers like that, right? There's musicians that are that way.
Well, I was going to say Andrew Bird is like one of the best whistlers ever. And he's like, people are more impressed by my whistling than my like skills with instruments. And the instruments were much more difficult. The whistling comes naturally.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's a good way to illustrate the worthiness. Um, so I'm going to go to the first point
Okay.
because
I'm ready.
really that's part of the second point, but don't rearrange it or anything. I like that the
Okay.
conversation is flowing organically. So about 10 years ago, I was on a date with Claire. Claire was at the time 38 years old. She had been an American for 19 years, and she was a Brit. She was born and raised a Brit for her first 19 years. And in fact, on the first date, she had been like it was at that moment she had now been on American soil longer. It was like she had been there here 1 month longer than she had been in the UK, and so 100% American, except she was only half American because she was British for the first half. She still said garage. Her car was in the garage. No, you've been here longer than you were there. You don't need to call it it's a garage in America. So she said something that changed my life. So this is just like when Gary Busey changed my life in our book. um, Write Better Together. giving yourself permission to write no matter what. Gary Busey changed my life. Well, Claire changed my life in the conversation about confident, because I'm a confident person, and she was pointing out her observations of how confidence and self-esteem are different between Brits and Americans. And
Hmm.
I'm like, well, now you're an American. And she said, the problem with you Americans is you value high self-esteem as much as you diss low self-esteem. And that I'm raising my daughters, she said, to be esteemless, like to be neutral esteem. She gave Oprah as an example of someone with high self-esteem, and that can lead to megalomania and cockiness. And I'm not saying that Oprah has those, but she gave that an example as the ultimate thing that people strive for, to be like Oprah. But you can go one step further, and now you're just like this unsufferable cocky
Yeah.
jerk. and
Who can never
and
be wrong.
yeah, and she's like, that's just as bad as having low self-esteem. And then she
Mm-hmm.
said, this would change my life. She's like, which did Jesus have, low self-esteem or high self-esteem? Good question.
That is a good
And
question.
not he was esteemless. That never even enters the conversation
Yeah.
for him or when we talk about him.
Yeah.
And just knew who he was.
Yeah.
So that made me value, because esteem is how much you value your confidence. That made me value who I am and what I do differently.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is pretty deep.
So, in what ways do you find that affecting you?
So you talk about humbleness a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that humbleness is this layer, like humbleness is a conscious layer that you're putting, like a self, that's how I view it. People might view
Yeah,
it differently,
interesting.
you might view it differently. That, oh no, I'm getting a little too big for my britches, I better apply a layer of humbleness, right? um and so it's like uh putting a wallpaper over the thing, a necessary social wallpaper. And so that you're not a know-it-all jerk. But I think humbleness and whatever the opposite of humbleness is, they're layers. From when I said extrinsic and intrinsic, outer layers on what of just who you are. Like I think the key is being comfortable with who you are, just like with the draw, like it's just who you are. I can draw cartoons, like, and so my level of confidence in my abilities, that's my worthiness. I mean, that's my competence. I'm just no, I'm good at this. I know I'm not going to. I only do things I'm good at, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I might be a little bit good at it, and so then I'll do things and get better at it. And but I am not gonna go play a baseball game today. I'm just not, because I'm not
Yeah,
good at it.
right.
So why
Right.
would I? All right. I'm I'm an okay driver, but I'm not gonna race car driver. I'm not gonna go race a car today, because why? Like what? Like, first of all, I don't care about it. So why? Like, so why would I do something that I, like, for what?
Well, it's like, because there are some people who'd be like, of course you can. You can do anything you set your mind to.
Yes.
But that's not always true. Sorry.
um yeah, five. This turned into ESPN again. Guy that's 5'1" isn't going to play in the NBA no matter how hard he tries.
Yeah.
However, a 6 foot woman can someday play in the NBA. Um, and so I would use that encouragement for her, right? But your height is kind of the determinant on that,
Yeah,
and your
I don't know
skills.
anything about that, but I do know that I feel like they should have short people basketball. You just have to lower the nets.
I don't know that. Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know. I mean, I know they don't in the NBA. They don't lower the nets, but I mean, maybe there is a league for people under 5 feet.
Maybe. Oh.
There you go.
Well, so Okay, so thinking about writing and this topic, I think there's an attitude that and networking, or we don't like the word networking, but what's
I
another word for it?
banished that word.
Yeah.
Connecting with people.
Connecting with people, going to conferences. There's this attitude of, well, you just have to be confident or even fake confidence, like just go in believing that you are the best, and then other people will believe you are the best, and don't let anybody critique you. Don't like I don't really hear that a lot, but I do feel like I feel like there can be that attitude of just I don't know if this is hitting anything. It's kind of that fake it till you make it, act like play the part of the confident person and be kind of a bulldozer and then you will get what you want in life.
So yeah, and I would not give that advice, and neither would you, I don't think.
No, I'm saying I see that attitude
Correct.
occasionally.
We have a competitor who I won't name. I don't believe we have competition, first of all, but we have someone that's doing the exact same thing that we're doing in this exact same space. And this person just posted an Instagram reel. You need to fake it till you make it. I don't care how hard it is on you. No, you don't. You need to be yourself, and you need to be authentic. And so I'm kind of
There
ashamed of
is
myself.
a variation of that I believe, but it's more of like it's like act professional. There is some acting involved. Like I think that you don't pretend to be someone else, but if you are feeling like, oh, I'm feeling super shy, sometimes you have to kind of force yourself to get out of that bubble and go talk to somebody. And I don't know if you call that faking it or just trying.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know if
more
that's
like
faking.
how you say it. It's more like just do one thing, right?
Yeah.
That's not it's not fake
Yeah.
because it's really you do it's really you doing it.
Yeah.
I decided, well, no, when I was thinking about do I want to be a teacher, it never occurred to me until Kat Candler is like, you can be a screenwriter and a teacher. And so I went to my mentor and I'm like, do you think I could be a teacher? Like, it never crossed my mind. I didn't have an opinion, uh, self-esteem low or high. I was like, you think I could do this? And he goes, it's just acting. That was his first sentence that he said to me. And I'm like, oh, well, I can do that then. I don't know that I don't. I mean, but that was his truth, right? For him, it
Yeah.
was. He's
Yeah.
very. This guy is very quiet and shy, but you wouldn't know that when he's in front of an entire auditorium.
Yeah, exactly. It's performing for sure. And I think that sometimes when you go to conferences and stuff, it is a little bit of a performance, but it's a performance of who you already are or who you want to be, not some fake persona that you feel like you should be.
For me, it's a magnification of
That's a
of
great
who
way
I
to put
am.
it, is a magnification. Yeah. And
Um,
I especially with if you're struggling with anxiety or insecurity or things like that, that's when it's you may just have to push yourself a little harder to do those things.
yeah. So I'm. There's something scraping at my spirit when I said our competitor. I I just I don't think that we're competitive, and I don't think
No,
I'm
I agree.
competitive, and so I just didn't know how to else to explain it. I just encourage someone who wants to get into this space. I'm like, come on, we warmed up the pool for you. Jump on in, and I meant that, and
Yeah.
so because I think this person will be good at it. The other person that I'm referring to, that's bad advice.
So, what was okay? I'm having a lot of thoughts on this, and I don't want to run over any of your points. So, did you want to did you want to share another point?
So sure. So point two is the mushy one. I don't want to keep going back to this guy's bad advice, but it seems like there's this inner confidence. Like even if you have low self esteem, you need to adjust the confidence level in your. Like if I said I'm a terrible cartoonist, that would just be wrong. Like
Right.
there's some trauma there that says you don't recognize that you can do this, and 400,000 million bazillion people tell you, "Oh, I love that cartoon."
Hmm.
Um, I didn't know this was a cartooning podcast instead of a writing podcast. So it's just, um, and so there's an inner acknowledgement of my competence, and that's different than the outward expression of that of that confidence. Two different There's two different layers, and I'm gonna steal this from my pastor. I'm gonna use this chair that I'm sitting in as an example. See this chair right here. You're driving in your car. I just showed the chair that I'm sitting in. We never think twice before we sit down in a chair.
Mm.
We know it's going to hold us.
Hmm.
When I plopped down in this chair to do the podcast today, I didn't go, "Oh, this chair might not hold me," or like I didn't. It is what it is. It's a chair. It was
Yeah.
constructed to hold a person. We go into an auditorium, we sit in a chair, we never think twice about the chair. Go into a classroom, we never think twice
Yeah.
about the chair. There's a level of assuredness that this chair is going to do its job. It's going to do what it was constructed to do. We don't ever, half the time, we don't know I don't know who made this chair. Do you know who made the chair that you're sitting in? Even if you know the company, do you know the workers that put it together?
Right.
Nope. Like, and so it's the same thing with, I have total 100% confidence that this chair is going to hold me when I sit in it, not knowing where, I don't even know where it came from. I
Hmm.
don't know who assembled it. So to me, that's the same as our inner confidence. Like, it's just part of us. It's impacted by how we were raised. But in my case, I'm going to say that could only be, well, no, I don't want to say that. It's impacted by how we're raised, either positively or negatively. But
Yeah.
the who you are, this chair exists. The admiration of this chair, you can say, "Oh, it's an ugly chair," or "Oh, this Frank Lloyd Wright chair is beautiful." Now you have a value judgment on it, and
Mm.
and that is that's subjective based on what you value. And so it's the same way when you're looking at your own confidence, it's subjective based on what you value. If I like, again, I don't care that I almost feel icky by saying that, but I don't care that I'm a good cartoonist because it just
Hmm.
comes out of me. I didn't earn it, but it's a God given talent. And so I don't want to, like, thank God literally that I'm able to do that. And because I
Yeah.
got paid for it for a while back in the day, but I didn't earn it. But
Interesting.
making the cartoon, because it takes 8 hours to draw a simple goofy cartoon, I did earn that. Like
Mm.
the
Yeah.
discipline to actually apply that skill or that gift that I was given. Because
Yeah.
I could be like, no, this just takes too long. So that's my point
So
number two is the
I
chair.
I love that, and it's giving me. I'm glad I asked for the point first because this is kind of what I wanted to talk about. Is in my writing classes, what I tell my students is confidence in writing or any skill grows when you have more experience with that skill. So the things that I've been doing my whole life that I'm either naturally good at or practiced enough that I'm good at it, I'm confident in those things. And then, but if somebody was like, now go play softball or something, I'll be like, I've never played softball. I don't know how. I'm not confident in that. Of course, I'm not. I've never done it. And like you said, there are some things that you're just going to go, either I know I'm not going to be good at that or I have no interest in being good at that. But there are things that I may want to pursue that I'm trying to think of another example besides softball, maybe skiing or something. Like maybe I want to go skiing one day. The confidence is going to grow the more that I do it. I used to
Inter-
ride, speaking of riding bikes, I used to ride my bike every day on campus. That's just what I did. That's how I got around was I rode my bike. And over the summer, I would ride my bike on trails. Well, I didn't have access to a bike for like a 4-year gap. And the next time I got on a bike, I was terrified. So that confidence of, okay, it's a muscle. I've done this every day. I'm not even worried about it. That's just it's an experience thing. And It's that competence, right? And that can grow. So if you're not confident in doing something, that's okay. That's a normal, natural feeling to have with any skill that you're not experienced in.
I thought of another example that's not athletic or physical, and that like I can't sing, so I'm not going to go on American Idol, right? That's a bad attitude because no, because I I'm not a singer, but I can sing in the shower, I can sing in the car. William Shatner has albums, right? And so a vocal coach can take what limited skill that you have and
Yeah.
make something out of it. And I don't mean electronically or auto tune. I mean, they can say, here's your range, right? And here, like, some people might have a good range, but are terrible with timing and with meter, right? And so might be okay with timing and meter, but they have a terrible range. And so a vocal coach can bring out enough where, like, if it was your, I don't, I, we haven't talked about this, but I don't really believe in bucket lists. That we won't go into it, but um, if it was on your bucket list to make a record, you could, like, even if you're terrible, like a coach can help you make one that's passable.
I'm glad you said that because I think sometimes we think that we can only do the things that we're naturally good at, or those are the only things that we should pursue further. Like, if you don't pick up that instrument and can play it beautifully right away, then you better quit. That's not how it works. I think even as kids, I think it's like, well, that kid's gifted in this, so they need to do this, and that kid's gifted in this, and they're going to do that. But then you're like, oh, well, I'm gifted in English and not math, so I'm just bad at math. And that's not a good attitude either, because anything can be learned. And that's how you grow that confidence, is by putting in the time and effort, even if it's not naturally. Um, Even in teaching, we were told don't really tell you don't really want to tell kids like, oh, you're so good at that. You want to say, oh, you worked so hard on that, like you did a good job. Or I heard recently, this was really interesting, a parent actually said he doesn't tell his kids good job or that looks great if they like bring a picture or something to him. He says, what do you think about it? Because
Oh,
I loved that. I loved this because it's the idea of teaching your kids to look for that validation in themselves instead of another person.
yeah. So let me say two things because
Yeah.
I have things to say about both of those, and that's one of them. So don't let me forget to go back to it.
Okay.
So when you said that you were taught to not say you're good at that, you were you worked hard on that,
You
or
worked hard on it.
yeah. So I was taught my pedagogy, and I was almost going to say who it was, but I'm not sure this is where I got it. When it's something good, you praise the person. When it's something bad, you take the person out of it and say this is not how a sentence is structured.
I 100% do that in my feedback. I never mention the person in negative feedback. I always say, this essay, etc., or this sentence, etc. Whereas if it's good, you're so right. And I didn't even know that I did that until you said that. It's like, oh yeah, because when it's good, I'm like, you did a great job with this.
And I have had peers, I overpraise, but it's not fake, right? Because it's really something that they're good at or they did well.
Yeah.
um, and I have had peers who criticize me for that because they don't do it. But the student, the customer, they're like, no one's ever told me I was good at that before. Like, I hear that
Mm.
we do exit interviews on video. I hear that commonly. Like, I didn't realize until this class, even with people in their second and third year, I've never even had a college professor tell me that I was good at this, and their parents didn't tell them, their high school teachers didn't tell them, and they really are good. And so I think that the naysayers, the peers that are naysayers, I think that they think it's fake, And I don't
Oh,
compliment, I don't tell them they're good at something they're not good at,
right,
right?
right. Yeah,
I want them to do more of the thing that they're good
yeah.
at doing. They're really good at metaphors. Do that, you, because you got that. And then if you're kind of good at something else, do more of that because you'll exercise that muscle. If you're bad at this thing, stay away from it.
Well, and for some people, words of affirmation is huge for them. So, like, I can imagine if you were the kid of that parent who never says good job, just says, what do you think? I'd be like, I think it's terrible. Like, so maybe some parents do need to be like, okay, kid, you really are good at this. I think that's okay too. It was just an interesting idea of putting it back on the kid and letting them self-assess.
No, and so I'm glad that you brought that up again because
Yeah.
that was my second thing. I like how you said, I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but during that part of the conversation, I like how you said it teaches them to self-assess and to
Yeah.
base that worthiness on their own barometer and not on outsiders.
Yeah.
I I almost said something about that when we were talking about connecting with others at conferences.
Mm.
There will be people that like I don't care that you think I'm a, like, you can compliment me all day. It's something I'm good at. I don't care because I already know I'm good at it, right? And so I don't have that. I don't have that muscle. And I mean, I appreciate your appreciation. I love that people love my cartoons, or they'll be like, "This is my favorite thing of this issue of the magazine," and I'm like,
Right.
that's cool." But like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make me think I'm better than I did before you said that. I already knew, I already knew it was
Yeah.
good.
And honestly, people with really low confidence might think, oh, well, they're just saying that.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
you're
way
the
to
way
put
that
it.
you are is it doesn't matter what people say because I already have this opinion of myself
And I think
and
the
my worth.
key is to just be who you are. And I mean, you say that on your blog all the time, but be who you are and acknowledge who you are
Yeah.
because you were made for a purpose.
Well, this makes me think about how many times, because I actually consider myself to be a person with naturally lower confidence who is, I'm stretching myself in that way. But I think about often when I write something, I genuinely don't know how to assess if it's good or not. Now, sometimes I'm writing something and I'm like, I think this is good because I'm excited about it. And so if I'm excited about it, surely there's something worthwhile here. But I often look for external validation. I'll send it to my parents or have my husband read it or have a friend look at it, be like, is this good? And I want to get better at looking at my work and going, that's good. And even being proud of effort even when results aren't the way that you really wanted them to turn out. Like, let's say you go to a conference and you do all the things but you don't get an agent, or only 5 people showed up to your session, or whatever the results might be that to you might seem like failure or not as successful. To be proud of the effort that you put in and go, I'm confident that I did well in those situations, or I'm confident enough to notice and recognize the mistakes that I made and be okay with it and just grow from that and not beat myself up over it.
You use our book for an example, right? Book is good. And we've had many people tell us our book is good, but we knew it was good before we put it out there. The compliment that I like the most is, "I did this in a month." That's the one I like. And but even that, yeah, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but yeah, we did it really, really fast. And don't go, well, just imagine how good it would be if you took 4 years to do it. No, it's not. Would have never guessed that we could do it so quickly,
Hmm.
but I didn't think it would turn out bad. I never thought it would turn
No,
out. I never thought it would turn out bad, whether it took
yeah,
1 month or 1 year. I didn't think it would turn out bad. And
that's true. I felt the same way. Like I was very confident about the book and how it would turn out.
why? Because we know what we're good at, I guess.
Yeah,
Because it's
plus
authentic and
sometimes
we
you
know
just do.
ourselves. Wasn't trying to be, and we weren't trying to be anybody that we aren't. Just like this, like people are like, you two are so comfortable on camera. I'm like, I just because we're the same. I just turn the camera on, unless I'm doing a character like I was doing the NPR guy that's more earlier. But how do you feel about the when you got 6 5-star reviews? Like, does it mean the book's better than it was before we got one? Well, I appreciate them.
I appreciate them too, and it's good to have that. Um, I guess it is good to have that validation that what you believed to be true was true for other people, but no, not necessarily. Like I believed that it was good before that.
So you brought up pride at the beginning, and I kind of scoffed. I didn't scoff at it, but I brushed it away. And then in this last section, you said, "I'm proud of this," and it made me
Ooh,
wonder. Yeah, like like I didn't even when I was thinking about self-esteem and confidence, pride never even came into it.
yeah, interesting.
And so I wonder, there's no right or wrong. I wonder why pride didn't come into it for me. I just for me, and obviously everyone has permission to be different. They're their own person. I don't think like the thing I like hearing the most is you guys did this so fast, or this I can't believe this is your 30th episode or whatever, and that you pulled all this together so fast. I'm just like, yeah, you could too. Like quit trying to be so perfect and just be yourself. But am I like, I don't know if pride enters into it. It's just competence.
Yeah, and that might be I'm trying to think of the word for it, like language, like picking apart the word pride. Like I think it's just natural for me to say like, oh yeah, I'm proud of that, or you should be proud of that. But I'm not. I guess I'm not thinking about it as like pride in the sense of, well, I'm so great.
Yeah, I don't take it when you say it that way. I don't take it as that way. Maybe it's how we were brought up. Did your parents say they were proud of you?
Yeah,
And
like
see, mine never like
so
mine
maybe
wouldn't.
it's just a vocabulary thing that I'm used to.
I probably never heard that, so I wouldn't use like I wouldn't. We feel the same way about the book, but we use different vocabulary because I'd never heard
Yeah.
that. As a Christian, I think we're taught that pride is bad.
I was about to say that because I think with the vocabulary thing, yes, in the church, it's like, well, don't be prideful, be humble. I'm trying to think of what the alternate like word for it would be.
Yep.
Um,
Well, my pastor points out humble doesn't mean that you're not confident. Confident is
right.
you're confident in who you are and what your abilities are, and they're God given, and
Yeah.
you're made for a purpose.
And you can have, I think confident, yeah, it's not pride, it's confidence. So C.S. Lewis says, and I can't remember the first part of the quote, the exact words he says, but basically he says that humility is thinking of yourself less rather than thinking less of yourself. So
Oh,
humility, that's what it is. Humility is not thinking of yourself less. No, let me start over. humility, okay, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So humility isn't like, I'm awful, I'm no good, no, don't compliment me. It's genuinely that just focusing on other people. So I think of Mr. Rogers, especially if you've seen like the documentaries or movies about him, the way that he would see somebody come into the room and it would instantly be like, hey friend, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Like that's humility.
yeah, I agree 100%. Are you sure that quote's from C.S. Lewis and not Taylor Swift though?
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, so I love that you brought up Mr. Rogers in this episode. Is the ultimate, and I don't know what the right word is. I I try to be like that. He's the ultimate of it's not me, it's you in a good way, right? He puts the focus on you. And so
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it. Even if Johnny Carson were to compliment Mr. Rogers, he would say, I appreciate that you think that.
Yeah.
Valid he acknowledges you in accepting a compliment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I also aspire
Aspire, that's the right word.
yeah, when I would just meet people when I was a college student. Because before you're So in high school and college, everything kind of seems like it is about you. Like you are the center of attention with graduation and like, look at you go. And oh, here's all the stuff I'm doing. And then you reach an age where you're the one who needs to start asking questions because it was like adults ask you, where are you going to college? What are you doing? What do you want to do with your life? And then it was suddenly, this isn't about me, and I'm not talking about everybody's experience, but this was kind of my experience. Was I would encounter people who were so good at asking questions, and I would go, I want to be like that, because they just turned that conversation, and I didn't even notice it happening, but they would turn the conversation about me, and then I would be like, well, I want to get to know you. And I want to be like that person who's genuinely interested in the person that I'm sitting across from. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I think there's
No,
just
it
a
did, and
transition.
it did, and so I'm thinking of how well you do that on when we have guests. We don't try to force this into being a tip show, right? You want to
Mm,
know what genuinely how they believe, why they believe about the way they do about something.
yeah.
So there, you've hit that plateau. Now what are you gonna do?
Yay. I don't know.
To be
Goodness.
proud in that, Emily. Yeah, that I think that comes out, and I think that comes out really well. I don't know that I'm very self-aware, but I don't know if I'm aware of that in me or not.
I mean, I would say the same thing as a host, that you have a genuine interest in the guests and what they have to say. So, yeah.
Well, when we did the master class and we were getting out of people
Yeah.
what drives them,
Mhm.
it's because I care what drives them.
Yeah. And I hope with this conversation, and I think we've done this well, like what you haven't heard us say is, oh, you just need to be more confident. You need to act more confident so that you can be successful. It's not about that. I do think like I and a lot of people struggle with confidence, and I would love to see people be more confident. Um,
Living, it can be living successful. You mean successful in a career?
I mean, like in the
Asking for
way people
clarification.
talk about successful. Yes, the way
Yeah.
people will be like, you need to do this and this and this and this to be successful. So interestingly, I had a conversation with Mary Stella on her Instagram
Yes.
where she said, what are your writing strengths? And she said on her writing strengths, lack of self doubt. And I said, that's huge. Mine is self discipline despite self doubt.
Oh, this is very appropriate to this conversation.
Yeah, because you don't have to be confident necessarily, and it's not fake it till you make it, but you don't necessarily have to be confident to still do the thing that you need to do. But I do think that over time when you do that thing, you will grow in confidence. And I've seen that in myself, especially with teaching. I was so unconfident early teaching, and now I go into the classroom and I like don't even think about myself at all.
Well, I brought this up already once, but like when you say just do the one thing, right? Not to prove to everyone else, it's to prove to yourself. Like your
Yes.
post, your post of hey, the shy girl is now a public speaker. Like that's a perfect example. You know you can do it now because you've done it, right? So
Right.
it's easier to make your second million after you made your first million because you already made a million. You already know that you can
Yeah,
do
the
it.
confidence isn't gonna come first.
And
It's a byproduct.
yeah, and you can look back and see that you did it
Mhm.
regardless of what other people thought about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting. Now let's psychoanalyze Mary Stella. No.
Oh, man, I do envy those writers who, and I think I had that as a kid when I was writing. I thought my writing was the best writing ever. I was the best writer ever. And then I went to college.
Oh dude, you just gave me goosebumps. We need to show that video.
What video?
Video. I wanted to do a reaction video. We need to show that right now in this episode.
The music, the songs.
Yeah. That
So on
that's
a,
ex- that's exactly what you just said.
yeah, I related to that video a lot.
Every Saturday I share a song that's connected to the show in some sometimes an obscure way, but sometimes in some important way. This song that I want to end this segment with is so simple, but maybe the most impactful song that I've shared. It might be it might be a body positivity one from Tessa Violet and Bray. That's also very impactful, and it has a writing lesson with it. But this one, I think this one fits for all. It's more universal because it fits for all creatives. Not that body positivity is also can fit with everybody too. So yeah. So listeners, viewers, you're gonna watch us get goosebumps now.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to pause it, but like throughout. So we encourage you to listen to the full song when you get the chance. This is Baker by Aimee Carty, and you can find it on YouTube and in our show notes.
I think we could at the end we can link to other people's videos at the end, right? So if they want to see it uninterrupted, they could do
But
that. No?
potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
Once upon a time I was a baker, and everybody was impressed. But I didn't need approval because I already knew I was the best. Everything I made was a masterpiece. It all tastes like heaven. But then unfortunately I turned 7.
Are we just gonna cry for the rest of the podcast?
Yes.
It's so relatable.
Once upon a time I was a painter, and everybody said, wow, girl, you're so clever, you're so talented. And I agreed and I stood proud. I painted mountains, I painted blue lakes, I painted people, I drew portraits. But then I drew my dad and held it up beside him, and I realized that it looked nothing like him.
Because I wasn't crying enough. This is what happened when you showed the moth painting. And then you're like, it doesn't look like everybody else's moth painting. And when I saw this, I just started crying so hard.
Oh.
Go back, people, and watch the moth painting. And like, so I couldn't talk before because I was crying after the first verse, but she already knew she was good. She already knew she was a good baker. And that's what we're talking about this entire episode. Is just having the confidence because you know you're good.
And also, we do things as kids. Guys, I think this is important too. We do things as kids not for a career, not because we're like, I'm going to be the best ever and I'm going to win all these awards. We do it because we love it. And yes, okay, when I was writing my book as a kid, I was like, this is going to be bestseller. I'm going to be the youngest best-selling author and all this stuff. But for the most part, we do things in variety. It doesn't matter if it makes sense how many hobbies we have. And then it's like when we're adults, it's like, okay, you got to choose one thing. And it's only validated if you're making money off of it or if you're the best or you're winning awards.
So wow, this got way even more deep. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be on the radio. Now we kind of but I never thought because I was good at it. I was good at conversation even as a 6-year-old. So that's what I wanted to be. And I was, and when I was on the radio, I was good at it. But it never occurred to me that the money part, because people on radio, they get fired all the time. They got to move from city to city to city. That's finally why I got out of radio, because I wanted to have a family at the time, and you can't get fired and move all across the country all the time when you have a family. Oh, but I always thought, like, I would listen to the radio and I'd be like, I'm better than this guy, or I'm better than them. Like, I never thought, like, I'm not good enough I thought I was better than that. I'm like, that was a stupid way to say that. I could do 6-year-old me. I'm 6 years old and I could do better than that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Just about that pure confidence. But we also are going to have to talk about that importance of humility as well, because you don't get better if you're not willing to acknowledge weak points or areas where you have to improve either if you don't accept any criticism. So it's sad, but it's also part of getting better. Is that fair?
I think that for me, and everyone's different, so I don't want to say
Yeah.
I don't want to say that this is the definitive answer. For me, it's the middle stuff. Like the middle stuff I can learn and take constructive criticism, but stuff that I already know that I'm good at, like Susan Grigsby, don't tell me I can't draw.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, I'm talking about like you're learning a new skill and you're super if you're a kid then you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm the best paint like for this example, like I'm the best painter ever." You know what? In this case, I didn't do the best job and I could do better. But you have to have that in your head. I can do better, not I did poorly, I'm bad. Okay, we should continue the video.
And part of me wish nobody had told her, but I guess it's just a part of getting older. Once upon a time I was a runner. I was the fastest in the town, and they don't say nobody will outrun her, 'cause she's the fastest girl around. Once upon a time I was a dancer. It took no effort. I was a scientist, I was an expert. I was a genius and I thought nothing of it, until they told me that I wasn't.
What other show purposely does things so that they can cry in front of their audience? I hope you 60 people that are watching this, I hope you appreciate what we're going through for you. I need
And part of me wish nobody had told her, but I guess it's just a part of getting older. When you learn you're supposed to color perfectly
Susan
inside of the line.
Susan Grigsby told me I could never amount to anything because I couldn't color in the lines.
Oh, Susan.
5-year-old.
Times before you even have the right to think or say or show you're any good at all. They'll tell you that there's only one right way, one paved path, or you'll make a fool of yourself and everyone will laugh. They'll make you feel like everybody's waiting there to watch you as you fall. They sigh, they tell me I'm a dreamer, they say someone's gotta wake her. But I'll just smile, I'll say once upon a time I was a baker.
Okay, if you're watching in your car, listening in your car, you need to watch this so you can watch us cry.
Yeah.
Oh, I started like I was masking my tears with the laughing and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that honest, or is
Yeah,
that me?
I mean,
Am I like hiding? I'm
I don't know.
I'm saying it out loud so that I know that I'm not. I'm trying to be honest.
Yeah, you're being honest.
Okay. Well, you weren't. You were honest, and you weren't like awkwardly laughing and stuff, so that you could mask it.
I mean, I didn't cry either, but I was like frowning, like, oh, so pitiful.
So you held back the tears.
Yeah.
So my third point and final point was that we are made in his image. So he's flawless. I mean, we're humans, but we're made in God's image. We're made in Jesus's image. And so like how dare we think we're not good at something, because good at what he wants us to be good at, and that we're because he made us for a purpose.
Yeah, that's a tough one because you said how dare we say we're not good at something. Sometimes we're not good at something. I think that's okay.
But we're good at what he wants us to be. No, and I agree. But
Yeah.
he wants like he doesn't want me to be a good basketball player. He wants me to be good at communicator and a good community builder.
Right. Well, and I think because that's kind of getting into like gifts and things. And I know like not everybody thinks this way, but I think whatever maybe natural talents and gifts that we have, it also doesn't mean that it's like, well, I'm great at it, don't need to work on that, don't need to improve on that. You also have the gift of learning and growing, and that's important too. Because when I was a kid and I was writing that book, it did need to be better. I did have to grow as a writer. But there's a way to do that that's not self deprecating and like, I'm terrible at this. And you know what I mean? Like, there's a way to do it to go, ooh, I can get better. We talk about this. I've mentioned this on the blog too. And I think I mentioned it actually in the book that my husband paints. And whenever he starts looking at his paintings and going, this is awful, what it really means is he learned something new and realized that he can do better. So that attitude of this is terrible can be flipped to, oh, this could be better. I can do better. I know how to do this better now.
That's a separate episode.
A lot of confidence is just changing the way that you process things and the way that you think. I do recommend the podcast, the Confidence Podcast by Trish Blackwell, because she has a lot of good advice on reshaping your thoughts.
So we started this with Claire, what kind of esteem did Jesus have, and we ended it. So I don't know. So I agree that, and this is my final thought. I agree that there are things that he's designed us to do, whether you're Christian or not. You were made for like everyone was made for a purpose. and so there's things you are meant to do. Choosing my words carefully, maybe I shouldn't. The apostles didn't go to Bible school, y'all.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. Like build the airplane and build the airplane while you're flying it.
That's what we're doing.
I mean, yeah, they hung out with him, right? So he modeled the proper things, but none of them mastered the proper things by his modeling. And he was Jesus. If he couldn't, he modeled and people still got it wrong. It was hanging around with him. Don't be so hard on yourself because you're going to get things wrong.
It's really about desire. And I think, and this is something that Trish Blackwell talks about as well, it's about your confidence in your own desire. Do you really want to be a better writer? Do you really want to be a better speaker? If you really have that desire in you, then the whole learning process is going to be a lot smoother because you're not going to be like wishy-washy about it. You're going to go, I want this. I can do this. I'm going to get better and better and better until I have achieved that goal.
The title of this episode is Watch John Myers Cry.
Oh, well, guess what, John Myers?
If you want to watch John Myers cry more often,
well, we're doing this early. You can subscribe to the podcast to always be informed about John Myers' tears. Also, please give us a star rating and write us a review because that helps other people find us. So if you are getting something out of this podcast and you want other people to get something out of it, that star rating and review will really, really put this in front of more people's eyes. Thank you in advance.
Perfect. You did that so well.
Also, check out our Patreon if you want to support us at Patreon /Write Better Together.
Patreon.com/Write Better Together.
Thank you.
I appreciate how much work you put into that.
Aw. What did you think about your effort?
You stole my line. I was going to ask you, how do you think it went?
Hey, John Myers.
Yes.
Did you know that many authors have also been inventors?
Oh, I like invention talk.
A lot of authors, we've talked about kind of how you can have a variety of interests in things, right?
Yes.
So a lot of authors have that creativity in them, and especially science fiction authors who either inspire or actually invented things themselves. So I'm just going to give a few examples, but because this is Hey John Myers, do you know of any?
I'm thinking of that. I'm looking at the bookshelf. What did this person invent? What did this person invent?
And I'm sure there's more than the ones that I'm going to share, but these were just the ones that I found.
I feel like I know. Like I was surprised, like some writers that we might know, like, oh, you have a patent for this crazy thing. Tell us. So you're stumping me. I can't think of one. If your things trigger something in mine, then I'll say, oh yeah, that guy does this thing. Okay.
So the first one I have is Mark Twain, which no surprise there. I feel like Mark Twain seems like the kind of person who would invent things, if only out of pure stubbornness.
I'm gonna guess he invented rope.
Oh my goodness, they didn't use rope until the 1800s. But I mean, I guess it's kind of a close guess because what he did was he was so frustrated by suspenders
That is rope.
that he created a type of elastic strap that is adjustable and detachable for vests, pantaloons, or other garments requiring straps, as will be hereinafter more fully set forth, he writes. So
Pantaloons.
I know, I love it. But here's the thing. It didn't really go over very well for what he expected, but it was the basis for modern day bra straps.
Oh my goodness. I thought you were going to say it was the basis for Jethro's rope belt, but nope.
And not straps, but the actual clasp in the back, because they're all stretchy, they're adjustable, and they detach. So there you go. He invented the bra strap. Who knew?
So did he live long enough to see his invention used in a bra strap?
It doesn't say. It just says the clever invention only caught on for one snug garment, the bra. But it didn't really say like when that happened, or so more information needed, more research needed.
Wow. 2 days ago was International No Bra Day. We should have recorded this 2 days ago.
No,
Next.
but today, hopefully people are wearing bras and can appreciate the bra strap.
So he didn't invent the elastic.
No, it was already, elastic was there, but the way that it had the clasps, the adjustable clasps, it's like that.
I'm showing the viewers at home elastic from the Mary Stella Davis bracelet. All right.
So he also invented, but this one didn't go over very well. He did make $50,000 off of it, which is pretty good. The self-pasting scrapbook, which I believe does exist. It's just that his particular patent didn't go over well. I think they said it didn't do well in the heat. But basically he wanted to be able to just stick papers into a scrapbook without using any glue. So in fact, I actually like recently was using one of these where the pages are sticky and then they have a plastic covering, and you remove the plastic, you stick stuff on there, and then you put the plastic back over it. So we still use them, just I guess not his particular patent. So some of these authors, I will admit, I have not read, but science fiction author, I'm just going to kind of list these things out. We won't go into too much detail, but science fiction author Robert Heinlein came up with the idea of the waterbed.
Oh, wow. That's what I was going to guess. You didn't pause long enough for me to guess.
No way.
Not really. I made that up.
It was because he had tuberculosis and he was in bed a lot, and he thought, what if there was water?
I was going to guess time machine for him. All right, next.
I don't think anybody's invented that. Another science fiction author, Arthur C. Clarke.
Oh, I know this one. He invented the Clark bar, like a Butterfinger, right?
No.
Dang.
Now, he did not execute this and he did not create it, but he proposed in 1945 the idea of satellites being used as refill stations for spacecraft that could also be used to emit worldwide ultra-high frequency radio services, including television.
Oh my goodness.
And that later became known as the Clark Belt.
Wow. Speaking of belts, Mark Twain's rope belt.
This one is my favorite. So this is Roald Dahl.
Oh, so he invented porridge, right?
I thought you were gonna say like mint chocolate or something. I don't know.
Oh, that'd have been a good. That was my second guess.
So it's actually not food related at all. This is
Oh,
so cool. So his son, this is really sad. His 5-month-old son, Theo, was hospitalized after a car accident. Um, so Dahl used that as so I actually see this happening a lot. Like lately, it just keeps coming up where people experience something tragic and then they use it to create something. And what he created was called the cerebral shunt, which is also called the Wade Dahl Till valve, which could drain built up fluid from the brain. So it can actually like save people's lives. It said it was used later for thousands of cranial surgeries. So had nothing to do with candy at all.
I'm making a note to myself. I'm going to ask the screenwriting group if any of them had invented anything, and then I'll report
Oh,
back
that's great. I
on a
love
future
that. Call
episode.
to action, invent something.
Didn't do a call to action at the end of our discussion. We're used to the guests doing it, and we didn't do one. That's it. That's it. That's our call to action. Go invent something
With confidence.
and
Like
then
do
cry
something you've never done before.
and then cry about it and then send us the video of you crying.
And bonus points if it's a repurposed item.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Here's the last one, and actually I said the Roald Dahl one was my favorite, but this one might be my favorite. Margaret Atwood. Do you know what she invented?
Yes. She invented. Can you tell me what year?
Good question. It doesn't say.
I was gonna say she invented the bowl, like that you put your porridge in, and bowls.
It was
But
2006.
yeah, there were already bowls. But then, she invented Velcro.
She was she,
Handmade tail Velcro.
Margaret Atwood is really old. No. Um she invented. So I just want to say that this is actually something that's used in Brandon Sanderson's books.
The internet. She
The
invented the internet.
the magical version of this is in his books. It is the long distance autograph pen or long pen, and it's where she can write her like message and signature long distance on a screen, and then a robotic arm writes it on people's paper. They said it had a lot of glitches, and so
I'll bet.
it didn't work very well, but it says the invention is currently being examined for applications in banking and security.
You didn't know this, but while you were telling all this, I invented the same thing. Look at this robotic pen arm. I think of all of them, that's the one I would use.
But yeah, I think of those. Well, obviously I use the bra strapped regularly, but the pen one is very cool. Imagine you could like write long distance letters, kind of like a fax machine, I guess.
Yeah, I like that one. That's my favorite one.
I love it. All right, that's it. So writers, go invent something and let us know about it and send us a video and a picture. And by the way, don't say, this is terrible. I only put 5 minutes into this and nobody will ever like this.
What's that voice?
I don't know.
Emily.
Yes.
It's time for. I've never said it's time for the final act. You always
I thought you were going to say it. You're going to
know.
take my line.
I'm pausing for you to say.
The final act.
Have you ever heard of Brandon Sanderson?
Who's that?
Well, since you mentioned him earlier in the podcast, I'm guessing that you know who he is.
Do I have to guess his age again?
No, but so in a previous episode, before I show you what you're playing for, in a previous episode, you guessed his birth date. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you now. Do you know what town he was born in?
Oh my goodness.
That's not the game, but but you can't Google either.
I want to. Okay, this is going to be a weird answer.
Yes.
But was it Nebraska?
It was. It was Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska. There you go.
You
That
know
wasn't a weird
where?
answer.
Do you know where he lives now?
Utah.
Correct. American Falls, Utah. So the game you will be playing is this Lincoln, Nebraska, or is this American Falls, Utah? No
Oh my
Googling.
goodness.
You will be playing for, viewers at home can't see this really cool octopus glass.
That's Cthulhu.
Okay. Um, uh,
Oh, it's an
um,
octopus.
and then I was gonna look up before we started. Did you know different glasses have different, like this kind of glass is a this, and this kind of glass, like every glass has a name.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. They're all like different sizes and stuff.
Yeah, like people drink that Moscow Mule. I don't
Oh
drink,
yeah.
so that actual glass, that container is it's named for the container, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
this shaped glass has a name, and I forgot to look it up. So I will put that in. I'll
Cool
put
fact.
I'll put it on the screen,
Okay.
and because I wanted to teach people to name their glasses. All right, so and so
Oh boy.
there are 3 pairs of pictures,
Okay.
and all you have to do is say, this one is Lincoln, Nebraska. This one is American Falls, Utah. It's that simple.
Okay.
Then there's a bonus one. You got to get 2 out of 3 to win the glass. There's a bonus one. They're all easy. The bonus one is hard. So,
Okay.
all right. So I have
I
to.
want to point out I've never been to either state, and
Okay.
nor have I looked up pictures of them.
And the first pair of pictures, one of these is downtown Lincoln, Nebraska. The other
Oh.
one is downtown American Falls, Utah.
I can't see them very well, but like if there are any clues in there, I'm gonna miss them.
I purposely picked ones with no clues. There's
Okay,
the
cool.
first one.
I just instinctively will say that the one on the right is Nebraska, the one on the left is Utah.
Wrong.
Oh,
This one is Lincoln, Nebraska. This one is American Falls.
ah,
Next picture.
my goodness. Who's that a statue of?
That is
There's
that is a statue of Emmett Budd Wright. Emmett Budd Wright. And you mentioned skis earlier, just like you mentioned Brandon Sanderson earlier. He hand carved those skis that he's holding.
what? Okay, and the left is just like a bunch of buildings and a
And
weird circle spiral thing.
that's the tower of something.
This is gonna just show how little I know about these places.
I didn't know this until last night.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel better. I'm gonna say the tower is. I'm gonna say it's in Nebraska, and the one on the right is in Utah.
Ding, ding, ding! You're right. Purposely had to pick pictures that didn't show all the mountains because that would clearly give it away as well. But
Thanks.
thought for sure that you would know once I confessed about the skis that was Utah because there's mountains in Utah. So
I guess,
what was
yeah.
his job, Emmett Budd Wright? What would you guess his job was in the
Um,
1920s?
a rescue skier.
Close. He didn't rescue people. He rescued telephone wires. And so he
Oh,
hand carved those skis 10 foot long and he zigzagged between the mountains when telephone wires would get knocked down from the storm. He was a lineman.
cool.
There you go. And then that's I don't know, the Tower of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Well, I figured it was that because Lincoln is a city, and I don't know if the place in Utah is a big city. That's my assumption anyway.
Next picture, it's the city hall, the former city hall of each of them, with the current Miss Lincoln, Nebraska, and the current Miss American Falls, Utah. And so you have to guess which one is which.
This is pure luck at this point. Like,
Here we go.
I'm going to say that the left is Utah. No. Nope. The one on the left is Nebraska. The one on the right is Utah.
This one is Nebraska, you're saying?
Yes.
And this one is Utah?
Yes.
You are correct. Ding, ding, ding. The current, I had to take their names off their sashes, and so you wouldn't know. The current Miss Lincoln, Nebraska, you can't see what she's holding. She's holding a Playtex box of tampons, and because she is body positivity in Lincoln, the body positivity advocate, and in Lincoln, Nebraska, you can have free menstrual products for everyone. There's no qualifications. It's a reason to move there if you want to move there for that. And it doesn't come out of your tax dollars. They've gotten them to sponsor. She sponsors, or she's the face of their nonprofit. And the reason that you could have guessed that is because they actually have a thing called the Tower of Tampons, and there was a tower in the previous picture. So there you go. All right, you won 2 out of 3. I'll give you the bonus one just for the fun of it, because this episode isn't long enough. You won. That's good.
Yay!
You are the best guesser.
Wow. See, I have no feelings about that because I don't feel like
You didn't
I
earn it.
earned it.
Final bonus question. I don't know what you get. You can get this invention. It's not even patented. You can
Wow.
steal my invention
Okay.
that I stole from Margaret Atwood. All right, here we go.
My goodness, that's not even fair. I'm looking at a Starbucks coffee and a Starbucks coffee, but one is more modernized.
Which Starbucks coffee is in American Falls, Utah, and which one is in Lincoln, Nebraska?
I'm going to say the left one is Nebraska, the right one is Utah.
Ding, ding, ding. You are correct. In fact, every picture, it was Lincoln, Nebraska on the left and American Falls on the right, so that I would remember which one was which. There you go. Good job.
That's amazing.
You figured it out.
That is awesome. Yay me. I'm the best.
You are the best. Until some adult tells you you're not.
Yeah.
And makes me cry. Emily.
Yes.
We couldn't have done it without you.
We couldn't have done it without you.